So before we do this, right, I'll give you a little bit of a synopsis of why we are doing this, why these stories are important. When you listen to the Mahabharata stories, or when you read Mahabharata or learn Mahabharata, absolutely nothing is going to change in your life. Nothing. You go home, you're still the same person. Nothing is going to change. However, when you make a connection with these characters and learn these stories and just learn what each story tells you, one day will come when it pays dividend. There will come a day when you face a problem and your parents are not there anymore, your teachers are not there anymore, they've moved on, you've moved on, and you look back and you can make a connection to one of these stories and it will actually teach you something. And it did to me a lot, and that is why we do this. So this process is not about learning and getting more wisdom. This process is just about having fun for now. All right. Let's do a quick recap from the last time, and then we'll go into some more stories from today, since a lot of you were not here last time. The Mahabharata is one of the most engaging and informative epic. For the most part, it started with this king called Shantanu. And this king called Shantanu was the king of kingdom called Hastinapura. Shantanu was walking by the Ganges river one day, and he saw this extraordinarily beautiful woman. And he didn't stop to think. He just went to her and said, "Please marry me." This extraordinarily beautiful woman was goddess Ganga in human form. Shantanu did not know that. Ganga turned around and said, "O king, I will marry you. But I have a condition." And she said, "My condition is that I will marry you, I will do everything properly, but no matter what I do with my actions, with my time, whatever I do, you can't ask any questions. Nothing should come out of you, not a peep. If that's okay, I'll marry you." King was so much in love with Ganga, he just said, "Marry me." So they got married. And after about a year, they had a child. Ganga took the newborn child, went to the river, dropped the child in the river. The child drowned and died. And Shantanu was aghast and horrified, and what just happened? But he didn't ask any questions because he made a promise and he wanted to keep his promise. Another child was born. Ganga took the second child, went to the river, dropped it in the river, died. She did that to the second child, third child, fourth child, fifth child, sixth child, 7 children. When the 8th child was born, Ganga took the 8th child, presumably with the same intention. Shantanu could not hold himself any longer. He ran to her, caught her and said, "Stop it, what are you doing? Why are you killing our children? Why are you so evil? Who are you?" And he broke the promise. And Ganga said, "King, you've broken your promise, and therefore the time has come for me to leave you. But before leaving, I'll tell you the reasons behind my actions." We won't go deep into the reasons today. She told the story of the 8 Vasus who were holidaying with their wives. They stole sage Vasishta's cow called Nandini. Sage Vasishta got so angry at these Vasu gods that he cursed them to be born as human beings. These Vasus prayed to Sage Vasishta and said, "Please reduce the effect of the curse." Sage Vasishta said, "Okay, you have to be born as human beings, but you don't have to live an entire lifetime as human beings. Ask Ganga to be your mother on earth, and as soon as you're born, ask her to kill you so you can die as human beings and come back and be gods again." In order to satisfy this reduction in effect of the curse, Ganga came here, gave birth to 7 children, killed them. Vasishta also said, "I'm not giving this reduction in curse to the 8th god. He has to live his entire lifetime on earth because he's the one who actually stole the cow while the others helped him." This 8th child was the 8th child that was not killed by Ganga. Ganga took the 8th child with her, raised him for a few years, came back to King Shantanu, gave it back to him and said, "King, this is your 8th son. His name is Devavrata." Repeat after me. Devavrata. Cool. Son is Devavrata. He's learned the Vedas from Vasishta. He's skilled in all forms of science and archery. 8th son. Shantanu was very happy he got his son back, raised him for a few years, but he got lonely. He didn't have Ganga in his life. Ganga had left him. He didn't have Ganga in his life. And he was walking by the Yamuna river one day, and he saw another beautiful girl. Where does Shantanu keep going to see beautiful girls? So he saw this another beautiful girl. By this time he was a little clever. He went to her and asked, "Who are you?" This girl turned around and said, "My name is Satyavati. I'm the daughter of the chief of fishermen in this area." Shantanu thought a little bit and said, "I want to talk to your father." She said, okay. Shantanu went and spoke to Satyavati's father, who was the chief of fishermen in the area, and told him, I want to marry your daughter. And the chief of fishermen said, O king, you are the king, and by all means, you are a worthy groom for my daughter, and if you marry my daughter will become the queen. Awesome. But the children born to the two of you can never become the king of Hastinapura, or the next king of Hastinapura, because you already have a son called Devavrata, and you have told everybody that he is going to become the next king. So the children born to the two of you can never become the next king. My condition is that the children born to you and my daughter should become the next king of Hastinapura. Devavrata should not. Shantanu said, I can't do that. That's not fair. And he walked away. But he could not forget Satyavati. And he was in misery. And Devavrata found out that his dad was in misery. And he went and spoke to this fisherman and told this fisherman, I will give up my right to become the king. Please let your daughter marry my father. I just want my dad to be happy. That was a pretty unselfish thing to do. The fisherman should have been happy, but he said, okay, but I have another condition. Devavrata asked, what? Well, you will keep up your promise. I have no doubts, but one day you will get married and you will have children. What if those children come after the kingdom and kill the sons born to Satyavati and Shantanu? What is this? What if something happens? I'm not even married. I don't even have kids. What if they do something? I have no control over that. And Devavrata did not think about any such thing. He said, okay, in that case I won't get married. I will not get married, and therefore I will not have any children. Please let your daughter get married to my father. I just want my dad to be happy immediately. Devavrata did not say, let me go back and think about it for a couple of days. I'll get back to you. He could immediately say, all I want is my father to be happy. Why did he say that? Because he wanted his father to be happy. Why did he say that? Because he wanted his father to be happy. How many of you have seen newborn babies? A few of you have seen newborn babies? Really? Okay, more of you have seen newborn babies. How big are they? Yay big, maybe. All newborn babies can do is what? Wiggle their hands, wiggle their feet, cry, and they go, Wah! And then somebody feeds them, and then they sleep, they wake up and go, Wah! Then mom or dad has to come. Has the child pooped? And then clean them up. And then child's happy, the baby goes to sleep again, and then wakes up, and the third time she goes, Wah! And they have no idea what the child wants now. Okay, here's another easy question. How many of you were newborn babies in your life before, at some point? Like half of you? Pretty much all of us, right? Pretty much. So who takes care of you? Who took care of you? Parents, who took care of you? Easy question. Who took care of you? Right. And they did. So sometimes it's okay to say, all right, that's what you want, I'll do it. And they're not going to expect us to go out and put up our hands and say, I will never get married. No. Maybe just do our homework. Maybe not throw a tantrum. Maybe just say, okay, I'll make my bed and actually make it. Things like that. Alright, so we covered it so far. We also saw that Devavrata, who was now known as Bhishma because he made this promise, he was now known as Bhishma, took Satyavati back to King Shantanu. They got married and had two children called Chitrangada and Vichitravirya. Chitrangada died at a young age, and Vichitravirya became the next king of Hastinapura after Shantanu died. When the time came for Vichitravirya to get married, Bhishma got Vichitravirya married to the sisters Ambika and Ambalika. There was an elder sister called Amba. We covered the story, but lack of time, we will not cover that today. For now, the important thing to know is Vichitravirya was married to Ambika and Ambalika, and Vichitravirya was the king of Hastinapura. Before they could have children, something happened. Before they could have children, Vichitravirya died. Vichitravirya, the king of Hastinapura, died. The kingdom had no king. What's a kingdom with no king? Just dumb. There's no king. And everybody was scared. They didn't know what to do. Everybody was worried. They didn't know what to do. They didn't know how they were going to handle this situation where there was no king. And there were no children to become the next king. Okay, what is this? Tennis ball. Alright. So if we were to make this tennis ball go to the end of the room, what should we do? Throw it, kick it, what else? Roll it, punch it, carry it. Roll it, punch it, kick it, carry it, what else? Give it to someone else, pass it around, sure. How else can we get it there? Come on, we can be creative. Baseball bat, okay, what else? What else? Yes. Headbutt it. Okay. Cricket bat. Sixer. Million ways, right? Not million, but a lot of ways. A lot of ways to get this ball to the end of the room. And everything in life is as simple as taking a ball and putting it at the end of the room. Every task is like that. Every dilemma is like that. Everything is like that. When we decide to do it, we can do it. However, what do? We talk about how all can we do it. And we worry. And we think about what is the best way to do it. What is the optimal way to do it. What is the cheapest way to do it. What is the easiest way to do it. And we still don't do it. But every action is as simple as taking it and putting it in the end of the room. I wasn't going to throw it to you. Every action is like that, but we don't do it because we wallow in worry, which is what entire kingdom of Hastinapura was doing, including Satyavati. One person, Bhishma, found an answer. He went to Satyavati and said, Satyavati, oh mother Satyavati, was his mother, he didn't say Satyavati. Oh mother, there is a way out of this. We can find a really pious Brahmana, a sage, who had meditated all his life, and such a sage has the power to bless the widows of Vichitravirya with children, to bless Ambika and Ambalika with children. However, it is difficult to find such a sage. It's not like they are walking around everywhere. Can't really go to Monster and hire them. It's difficult to find such a sage. But if we find such a person, they can bless the widows of Vichitravirya with children. And Satyavati responded and said, aha, I know such a sage. And Bhishma asked, who? He said, my son. He said, your son's dead? No, not that one. Another son. Said, who's that? So Satyavati said, I haven't told the story to anybody. When I was a little girl, I had the job of ferrying people from one end of the Yamuna river to another. I was a little girl, I had the job. One day, a sage called Parashara rode in my ferry. And he was so enamored with my beauty that he wanted to bless me with a child. And he blessed me with a child. And this child was Vyasa. This child was Vyasa. And he also said, the child will grow up immediately and he will not disturb you because you're a little girl. He will continue to live in the forest. He will grow up to become one of the best sages, most popular sages in history. And whenever you need him, he will come in your assistance. Satyavati told the story to Bhishma and said, I can call upon my son Vyasa. And she summoned him. Vyasa immediately appeared and Satyavati said, please bless Ambika and Ambalika with children. Now Vyasa, he said, okay, of course. Vyasa had lived his entire life in the forest. Not too many barbers in the forest. So he had long hair and he was really terrible looking, tattered clothes, probably been meditating for years and years and years. Not sure he opened his eyes or took a walk and took a bath. No idea. So he looked kind of terrible. And he went and approached Ambika first. And Ambika got scared. Who's this guy? And in fear, she closed her eyes. And Vyasa blessed Ambika with a child who was born blind. And this child was Dhritarashtra. Repeat after me. Dhritarashtra. Vyasa approached Ambalika next, and Ambalika also saw the same terrible appearance, and she grew pale and weak. And Vyasa blessed her with a child who was born pale and weak, and this child was Pandu. This child was Pandu. So Satyavati got scared. One child is blind, another is weak. How is the kingdom going to survive? So she called Vyasa a third time and said, can you bless them with one more? So Vyasa went to Ambika again, and Ambika was really scared. I'm not even going to look at that guy. And she sent her servant maid instead to Vyasa. This servant maid served Vyasa with bravery and dedication and humility. She wasn't scared of him, she didn't grow pale or weak, she just did her job. Vyasa was so impressed with this girl that he blessed her with a very, very wise son. And this child was Vidura. This child was Vidura. The kingdom of Hastinapura had 3 children. Dhritarashtra, all of you, Dhritarashtra, Pandu, and Vidura. All right. Okay. How old were they? Dhritarashtra, Pandu, and Vidura? How old were they? Come on. Newborn babies, right? So they couldn't really rule the kingdom now. They weren't ready. So Bhishma ruled the kingdom for the time being while these 3 kids grew older. Let's pause that for a second. Around the same time, something else happened. Around the same time, in another part of the country, there was Lord Krishna's grandfather was Shurasena. And this King Shurasena had a beautiful daughter called Preeta. Shurasena's cousin Kunti Bhoja did not have any children, so he gave Preeta in adoption. He gave Preeta in adoption to Kunti Bhoja, and that child from then on was known as Kunti. That child from then on was known as Kunti. When Kunti was a little girl, sage Durvasa paid them a visit. And Durvasa was an angry sage. What do sages do when they get angry? They curse. So they were really scared of this sage, and Kunti Bhoja told his daughter, serve the sage with dedication. Do everything he says. Serve him. Make him happy. So Kunti took care of this sage for an entire year. With a lot of dedication. Served him food, fanned him when he was sleeping, pressed his feet, did everything. At the end of the year, Durvasa was so pleased with Kunti, he told her, I'm very pleased with you. I'm going to teach you a mantra. I'll give you a boon. I'll teach you a mantra. And if you meditate on any god and utter this mantra, you will get a child. The god will appear in front of you and give you a baby. Okay? Saying this, he left. Now Kunti was a little girl and she was very curious. What? A god will come in front of me and give me a baby? How many of you know what a mantra is? Do you know what a mantra is? All of you know what a mantra is? What's a mantra? Something you chant? Okay, something you chant is probably a shloka. A mantra is also something you chant or something you can say, but it is really top secret. And it's not easily, you cannot really hear it. Nobody can know about it. It's a top secret mantra. It has to be taught by someone who knows it really well to someone who needs to know it. Okay. So, Durvasa taught this mantra to Kunti. Now, Kunti was very curious. A mantra. Nice. And if I tell this mantra, a god will come in front of me? Cool. And he's going to give me a baby? I don't believe that. And she was just a little girl. And she wanted to test it out. So, she looked straight at the sun god Surya. Watch this carefully. She looked straight at the sun god Surya and meditated and uttered the mantra. Immediately the sky grew dark and Surya with all his glory came down to earth and stood in front of Kunti. Kunti got really scared. Oh my God, what did I just do? And Surya said, Kunti, I am Surya. You summoned me with your mantra. Kunti said, okay. And he said, I will now bless you with a child. He said, oh my God. I really don't want a baby right now. So Surya said, I'm sorry. I am bound by the powers of the mantra. I have to give you a baby. He is bound by the powers of the mantra. He had to do it. So he gave Kunti a baby and he disappeared. And Kunti, this little girl, was standing with a baby. And she felt, oh my God, my dad's going to kill me. But this baby was so radiant. He looked like the sun himself. He looked radiant and glowing. He was born with divine armor and earrings which were embedded to his flesh. He was born with golden armor and earrings which were embedded to his flesh. He was like born ready for Halloween. He was like incredible. However, Kunti was still scared. She was still a very little girl and she was scared. So what did she do? She took the baby, and this baby was Karna. This baby was Karna. She took the baby, put the baby in a chest, a box, covered it with a golden cloth, and let it flow in a river, and watched sadly as Karna floated away. Right or wrong? Right. Yeah, right. Let a baby float in a river. That's the baby. Of course it's wrong, but Kunti was a little girl. She didn't know what she was doing. When we are little, we don't know much about what we're doing, which is why it was probably, what Kunti should have done was go to her father and say, I kind of goofed up. I got a baby. And the father would have yelled at her a couple of times, but then the baby would have been taken care of. That's what dads do. They yell at you, why did you do that? Okay, I'll make up for it. Alright. And Karna floated away. Eventually, Karna was found by this charioteer called Adhiratha. Karna was found by this charioteer called Adhiratha. This charioteer did not have any children. He was meditating by the river or praying by the river. And then he saw this box floating around. He said, wow, box. And he opened the box, said, ooh, baby. And he took the baby, obviously nobody was around, said, okay, God's given me a baby. And Adhiratha and his wife Radha started raising Karna as their own child from then on. And Karna grew up in poverty. Though he was the son of Surya, though he was the son of a princess called Kunti, he grew up in poverty, not knowing his true parentage. So Karna grew up as a childless charioteer. Eventually Kunti grew up, and Pandu and Dhritarashtra and Vidura also grew up. Since Dhritarashtra was blind, Pandu became the next king of Hastinapura. Pandu married Kunti. And he also married another girl called Madri. Yeah, they used to marry two women. Pandu married Kunti and he married Madri. One day, Pandu went hunting in the forest. Pandu went hunting in the forest with all his friends and army and everybody, just having a nice time. And he saw a deer. He saw a deer and he took his bow and arrow and he shot the deer. And the arrow hit the deer. And what did the deer say? Ow. Oh, I'm dying. Yeah, deer say ow. Hit the deer. Unfortunately for Pandu, the deer was a sage in disguise. What do sages do? Curse. He shot a deer which was a sage in disguise. He shot a sage. Sage winced in pain, and all the sage was doing was he took the form of a deer to play with his wife, who was also a deer. Come on. That's how they made it interesting. Shh. Okay. So the sage was so angry, he was in so much pain, he told Pandu, I was just having a nice time with my wife and you shot me? If you ever try to have children with your wife, you will die. and he cursed Pandu. And Pandu was about to say, no, please don't do that, and the sage died. Dude, come on! And he was so mad at the sage, but he couldn't do anything. He was unhappy. He was just cursed that he could never have children. If you had, how many of you have money with you? I didn't know that you could have money. Like how much money? Do you have like $100? $5,000. You have $5,000? Who's your dad? Shh. Okay. If you had how many of you do not have any money? Let me ask that question. Okay, that's If you have no money, even getting $1, it's a big deal, because it's $1 more than nothing. If you have no money, getting $100 is really cool. But if you have $5,000, and if somebody gave you $1, that's like a drop in the bucket. So for Pandu, he already had everything. He was the king. He had a kingdom. He had power, obviously a lot of money. And he had people who would listen to him all the time. And he had 2 wives. He had everything. And the only thing he wanted was a child. Because he could not have the one thing that he wanted, he felt so dejected. He went to his brother and said, "Oh brother Dhritarashtra, I just wanted to have children. I do not have any children. I can never have children. I don't want to rule this kingdom anymore. I've lost all interest in life. You rule the kingdom from here on." And he retired into the forest with his wives, dressed in normal clothes. He went to the forest with Kunti and Madri and started living there. By the way, Dhritarashtra married this princess called Gandhari. Dhritarashtra married Gandhari. Pandu had married Kunti and Madri. Now Pandu went into the forest and they were living in poverty. One day, Kunti remembered something. What did she remember? The mantra and the boon she got. And she went to Pandu and said, "Oh Lord, Pandu, I know a way by which we can have children." Pandu looked at her and said, "How?" "I know a mantra." "Huh?" "Yes, and if I tell that mantra, a god will come and give us a baby." Pandu said, "Cool, use the mantra." And Kunti said, "Sure." And she closed her eyes and meditated on Lord Yamadharma. She meditated on Lord Yamadharma. Lord Yamadharma came to this world in front of Kunti and Pandu and blessed them with a child and said, "This child will grow up most truthful. He will be the most truthful in the whole world. This child will have the most wisdom in the whole world. This child will grow up to become a great king. He will never utter any lies." And his name was Yudhishthira. His name was Yudhishthira. And Pandu was very happy. He finally had a child. But he was not satisfied. So he went to Kunti and said, "You think we can make one more?" Kunti said, "Sure, no problem. I know the mantra." So she closed her eyes again, meditated on Lord Vayu, the wind god. And Vayu came to this world and blessed them with a child and said, "This child will be the strongest in the whole world." And this child was Bhima. This child was Bhima. This child was Bhima. So there were 2 children. Now Pandu, how many babies did Pandu have? Pandu had 2 babies. Pandu had 2 babies. And he must have been happy. He was happy, but he was not completely satisfied. He went to Kunti again and said, "Can we make one more?" Kunti said, "Sure. All I have to do is say the mantra." And she closed the eyes and repeated the mantra again, this time meditating on Lord Indra, the king of all devas. Lord Indra came to this world, blessed them with a child and said, "This child will be the best warrior in the whole world. This child will be the best archer in the whole world." His name was Arjuna. How many children were there? Yudhishthira, Bhima, Arjuna. And Pandu was happy. While Pandu and Kunti were having children like this, Madri was watching all this, Pandu's second wife, and Kunti felt she's going to feel left out. So she went and taught the mantra to Madri. Madri meditated on the Ashwini twin gods. The Ashwini twin gods came and blessed them with twin children who were Nakula and Sahadeva. So who are the Pandavas? Yudhishthira, Bhima, Arjuna, Nakula, Sahadeva. Once more. Yudhishthira, Bhima, Arjuna, Nakula, Sahadeva. While all this was happening in the forest, in the kingdom of Hastinapura, Dhritarashtra and Gandhari had 100 sons. They had 100 sons. Actually, there's a story behind that which you can read later, but they had 100 sons. Shh. So you told the 5 Pandavas, right? You know the 5 Pandavas? Okay. How many of you know the 100 Kauravas? Okay, let's name the 100 Kauravas. Okay, let's name the first Kaurava. Duryodhana. The second? Dushasana. The third? Why don't we remember Kauravas? Okay, there are 100 of them to begin with, but we remembered the 5 Pandavas. At least we should remember 5 Kauravas. In history, if you want to be remembered, be on the good side. If you're on the bad side, ain't going to be remembered. But there were a lot of Kauravas. Dushkarna, Durdarshana, Dharmadarshana. Why do I remember? It's my job. So there were 100 Kauravas and there were 5 Pandavas. Shh. And these Pandavas were in the forest. The Pandavas grew up with no conveniences. One of the most important things we are going to learn today is from Duryodhana. One of the most important things we're going to learn is from Duryodhana. We're going to learn a word. That word is called entitlement. That word is called entitlement or being entitled. Very important. If there's one thing you have a chance to avoid rather than anything else, whether be angry or jealous or lying, or even if you don't avoid anything else, if there is one thing you can avoid, if you can avoid being entitled, you'll have a great life. And that is what we're going to learn from Duryodhana. Duryodhana was born in the palace of Hastinapura. He was the eldest of 100 sons. And he had no idea what was going on with Pandu and Pandavas and all that, because they were in the forest far away. And he was so sure that the kingdom belonged to him, that he was going to become the next king of Hastinapura. He kept asking his dad, when am I going to become the next king? When am I going to become the next king? When am I going to become the next king? His dad was saying, hold it, you'll get your chance. But he was always waiting to become the king of Hastinapura. And he was so sure that he was going to do it. How many of you have ice cream in your houses? Just a few of you? Really? Do you like ice cream? Yes or no? Some of you like? Yeah, you like ice cream. Okay, shh. Can you walk to the fridge anytime you want and take ice cream whenever you want? No. Why not? Okay, but why not? Why can't you do that? What's stopping you? Who say no? Who say no? Parents say no. Why do they say no? Because it's good for you. Okay, whatever. All right. Shh. Let's assume for a moment. Let's assume for a moment that you can go and take it whenever you want. If you can go and take it whenever you want, you can walk there, take it and eat it whenever, how much ever, right from the box, whatever. And if you can do it whenever, and if you get used to doing it, one day you're going to feel like, this ice cream is mine. I can do this whenever I want. If someday somebody comes and tells you, no, you can't do it, you're going to feel like saying 3 words. And if you ever catch yourself saying these 3 words, be assured you are already entitled. You have to work on it. If you catch yourself saying, it's not fair, it's not fair, this is mine, One day, Pandu was tempted by Madri. Pandu was tempted by Madri and he wanted to have a child with her. And Madri said, no, we can't do that. Remember the sage's curse. If you want to have a child, we have to use a mantra. And Pandu still did not listen to her. They tried to have a child and immediately Pandu fell dead. And Madri felt responsible for Pandu's death and she also killed herself. Yeah. So, Kunti was left with these 5 babies, 5 children. They were not babies anymore, little boys, 5 boys. Kunti was left with these 5 boys all alone in the forest. So she went back to Hastinapura, entrusted them under Bhishma and said, please take care of them, their father is dead. Now, Bhishma took them under his tutelage and he started teaching the Kauravas and Pandavas together. He started teaching the Kauravas and Pandavas together for the first time in his life. All this while, Duryodhana was so sure that the kingdom was his. He was so sure that the kingdom was mine. Suddenly he started asking, who are these 5 guys? Is the kingdom mine? And he started getting worried. He started getting worried. And this is what happened. One day, he felt, I had to somehow get rid of the Pandavas. Because the Pandavas had grown up in the forest. They had learned from sages. Yudhishthira was very wise. Bhima was very strong. Arjuna was very skilled. Nakula and Sahadeva were very studious and brilliant. And Duryodhana felt jealous. And Bhima was so strong that he used to uproot trees and throw it at Kauravas to bully them. He was a bully. He used to uproot trees, real trees, and throw it at Kauravas. Sometimes he used to uproot 2 trees and throw it at them. And Duryodhana was so mad. He said, I have to get rid of this guy. And he started hating Bhima. And one day he said, if I can get rid of Bhima, I can easily defeat the rest of the Pandavas. And he plotted to kill Bhima. How many of you are really evil people in this room? 1. How many of you were absolute evil people that you're ready to kill anybody? Nobody. Shh. Nobody is really evil. But here is what makes us evil. From being a normal person like any of us, watch this. From being a normal person like any of us, feeling entitled is a step. From being entitled, getting worried is just a step. From being worried, feeling jealous is just a step. From being jealous, hating is just a step. From hating, killing is just a step. For a person who hates, he does not hesitate to kill. For a person who feels anger, he does not hesitate to hate. For a person who feels jealous, he does not hesitate to get angry. For a person who feels entitled, he does not hesitate to feel jealous or worry. Remember, whatever state you are in, if you are at the earliest state, stop it right here. So you will never take the next step. Or the last step, which is the most evil thing to do, will be just a step in a matter of time. Duryodhana got there pretty fast. And he decided to kill Bhima. And he poisoned his food. And Bhima fell unconscious. He tied up Bhima in ropes. And the Kauravas took Bhima to a river, dropped him in the river, and he sank to the bed of the river. Fortunately, well, not fortunately, there were poisonous snakes at the bed of the river. I was going to say fortunately there were poisonous snakes at the bed of the river. That's not true. There were poisonous snakes at the bed of the river. These poisonous snakes started biting Bhima. Now, fortunately, the poison from the poisonous snakes countered with the poison that Bhima had consumed, and he recovered. And he tore the ropes open and he started fighting with the snakes. And one of these snakes was a snake called Aryaka. And he said, hey, aren't you Bhima? And Bhima said, yeah. So I'm your great-grandfather. You're a snake. And snake said, yeah, I'm your great-grandfather. Things like that used to happen. And Bhima said, cool. Okay, now am I free to go? He said, yeah, you're free to go, but I want to give you a gift. Bhima said, sure. And Aryaka got a huge jar filled with a liquid called Rasakonda and said, drink this. So Bhima asked, what is it? He said, drink it, it'll make you stronger. He said, I'm already strong. No, it'll make you much stronger. So Bhima took this huge jar of Rasakonda and he just gulped it down. So Aryaka gave him another jar of Rasakonda, which also Bhima gulped down. He kept giving him jar after jar after jar. Bhima kept gulping it down. And he drank 8 jars of Rasakonda. And Bhima was so full and so tired, he slept for 8 days straight. When he woke up, he had the strength of 10,000 elephants. And Bhima became extremely strong. And he recovered. He came back to Hastinapura. Everybody was happy to see him, everybody except Duryodhana, of course. The Pandavas and Kunti were happy to see him, but Vidura advised them not to bring it up to anybody and just be watchful of Duryodhana going forward and not create a scene right now. If you do anything, I don't think you will, but if you ever end up doing anything on the wrong side, and your intuition, it'll always tell you what's right or wrong. Anything on the wrong side, this story is meant to show that guaranteed it will backfire. And Duryodhana's plan backfired. Bhima only became stronger. Alright, and they were all learning in Hastinapura. How many of you like Harry Potter? Like half of you? A little more? Okay, alright. How many characters are there in Harry Potter? I know there are a lot of characters. Aren't there many characters in Harry Potter? Yeah, a lot of characters. What are some of the characters in Harry Potter? Harry Potter. Okay, Harry Potter. What are some other characters in Harry Potter? Hermione, Voldemort, Dumbledore. Mad-Eye Moody, Sirius Black, Snape, Flitwick, Ron. Okay. How would the entire, how many books are there in Harry Potter? 7 books. How would the 7 books of Harry Potter be if the whole entire story only had Harry Potter? Boring. If the entire story only had Harry Potter and Voldemort. It would be boring. Just like Harry Potter had characters like Snape, Sirius Black. Just like Harry Potter had those characters, the Mahabharata, being an epic of magnitude, has several other characters. We will see one of them today. This character is called Drona. Alright, I need somebody really strong and brave. Okay, come in. Okay. You're going to do what I tell you to do.
Oh, okay.
Okay, alright, stay right there. No, you can stay, you should stay right there. Right there. No. Okay. With whatever I tell you.
Okay.
Okay, alright. It's easy, it's not a big deal. Okay. Without moving your feet, with all you got, punch me. Come on, you can try. No, with all you got. Give her another hand. Without moving your feet. Once more. One last time. That's it?
Yeah, I can.
Why can't she punch me? Or at least, does it hurt when she does? Does it hurt me? No. Why not? Because, duh, yeah. Because she's not in an environment, she does not have the power to hurt me. Not yet. But, come here. No. It's like ready. Now, okay, listen to this carefully. With all you got, without holding anything back, punch me. I'm serious. Yeah, it's fine.
Are you sure?
With all you got, but seriously.
I'm sorry, I didn't know it was actually so.
Okay, did that hurt? It actually did a little.
Sorry.
Okay. Did that hurt me? Why did that hurt me?
Because it touched you.
What's your name?
Anushka.
Anushka?
Yeah.
So Anushka had the power to hurt. And she made the choice to hurt me. You didn't, but you know. You can go back. So, thanks for the punch. So, what makes us good or bad is when we have the power to hurt, when we have the power to say that lie, when we know that lie is going to hurt somebody or make a bad difference, when we know that anger is going to hurt somebody or make a bad difference, at that moment if we choose to execute it, that is what makes you bad. Sitting in a room like this, you're going to say, are you a bad person? Probably not. But if you are in a situation where you actually have the power to get angry at mom, and if you do get angry at mom, at that moment, that is what differentiates a good person from a bad person. Drona was a great character. Drona was a great character. He was the guru of the Pandavas and Kauravas. But long before he was the guru of the Pandavas and Kauravas, he grew up in poverty. When he was growing up as a little child in poverty, he had a childhood friend called Drupada. Drona and Drupada were great friends, close buddies. Drupada was the prince of Panchala. Drona was a poor boy, but they were extremely good friends. They slept together, ate together, played together, learned together, everything. They did everything together. And one day, Drupada told Drona, don't worry that you're poor. Shh. Don't worry that you're poor. When I grow up and become the king of Panchala, I will give you half my kingdom. Sweet deal. And they shook on it. They were happy. After they grew older, Drupada became the king of Panchala. Drona continued his Brahminical ways, but he was still poor. He married Kripi and had a son called Ashwathama. Repeat after me. Ashwathama. Ashwathama. One day, Ashwathama, this little boy, was very hungry. He went to his mom and said, Mom, can I have some milk? And his mom did not have milk in the house. And there were no refrigerators at that time. And really, there were no Walmarts or grocery stores at that time either. So it's not like they could get into a car, drive around and buy milk. If they wanted milk, they had to go to a cow and get milk from the cow. Because they were so poor, they were poor that they could not own a cow. And they didn't have any milk. But Kripi wanted to make her son happy, so she took some white flour, mixed it in water, gave it to her son. Her son Ashwathama thought it was milk, drank it, and he felt happy. Drona was watching all this and he was so sad that he couldn't even afford to give his son milk. He was very sad. And he was wondering what to do, and somebody came and told him that the great Parashurama was giving away all his wealth. So Drona rushed to Parashurama and said, please help me. But by the time Drona went to Parashurama, Parashurama had already given away all his wealth, and he said, I have nothing left except my weapons or my body. What do you want? And Drona said, I'll take the weapons. And Parashurama was a great warrior, and he gave Drona all his weapons, including the Brahmastra, which made Drona a very powerful warrior. But he was still poor. And he remembered his childhood friend Drupada's promise, and he went to Panchala to ask him for some help. He didn't really want half the kingdom. But he said, if I go ask my friend for help, he could give me a few basic conveniences that will help me take care of my family. And he went to Panchala, and he went to the palace guard and said, I want to enter. And the palace guard asked, who are you? He said, I'm the king's friend. Look at you. You look like a beggar. How can you be the king's friend? He said, I really am the king's friend. He convinced the palace guard and went into the palace. And Drupada was sitting there in his throne. And Drona was so glad to see him. He rushed to him and said, hey, how are you? And Drupada said, who are you? He said, I'm your friend. I said, what do you mean you're my friend? I don't know you. He said, I'm your friend. I'm your childhood friend. And Drupada did not recognize him, or even if he did recognize him, he did not behave like he recognized him. He said, how can a beggar like you be a friend of a king like me? Go away before I lock you in chains. And at that moment, when he had the power to either just help this guy out, maybe with a cow, he chose to hurt him. Drona was so humiliated and hurt that he swore that he will take revenge on Drupada. And he walked out of the kingdom swearing that one day he will take his revenge on Drupada. When Drona had the choice to say, alright, this guy goofed up, I could just let it go. But he swore to take that revenge. And he carried that revenge throughout that life, which only hurt him and others. It is that moment of choice that makes us good or bad. And again, these stories are not meant to make a magical, miraculous change in your life or a difference in your life today. But this is a seed. And this seed will get planted in all our heads as stories. And that seed will grow. And one day when we are actually in a position to make a huge difference, or we are actually in a position where we are in a serious dilemma, we can use this and turn back to these stories for help. My website is called www.gurukula.com, Gurukula, gurukula.com. I publish Mahabharata as books, comic books on the iPad, which comes in 7 languages, and also audio series. One of the main things that has made a difference in my life is learning, or at least starting to learn these things in Sanskrit. And it's actually a very easy language to learn. If you can do that, learn a little bit of Sanskrit and know these words, the meaning of these words in Sanskrit, it will make a superior and even better difference for you in understanding these stories and these shlokas and mantras. Thank you very much for listening to me today. I hope I will be back. Hari Om.
Hari Om. Hari Om. Thank you, Sriram ji.